Now, the topic I want to share about today is on community. Okay, let me share my slides. Okay. So I want to talk about community. So, we are in the wellness industry, and wellness is about living better and longer, if possible. And if you can live better, you want to live longer so that you can make the most difference, isn't it? Well, research has shown that those who live longest have meaningful relationships. Meaningful relationships, it's part of being a community. So we talked a lot about gene expression, affecting health and all that, affecting long life. Yeah, those are important factors, but the most important factor actually are relationships. Okay. Those who live abundant lives have varied input from their village or community. If you live alone, you're the only one that gives yourself input. If you want to have varied input, it comes from having a village. Okay, so we know the expression, it takes a village to raise a child, but no, it takes a village for you to go beyond childhood into adulthood, so that you have what I call balanced, holistic growth. It's like a wheel that's balanced. It goes further and it goes faster, isn't it? Okay. And those who live significant lives, they contribute to a community. Okay. If you want a life of significance, of meaning, it is about contribution, and contribution is into your community, your society, starting, of course, with your family. So today I want to share some personal reflections on community from my most recent experiences last week. We returned from the Hokkaido Success Summit on Saturday morning. Most of us, I was pretty exhausted after being in airports or flying since 4 p.m. on Friday. That's 18 hours from the time we reached Shitose Airport in Sapporo to the time we finally landed and left Changi Airport. 18 hours. So we were pretty tired. There was a leaders gathering that evening, and we had two guest speakers who were non-New Skin people, okay, not Kakinang, okay. And so it was important that there are people present. Our people are present there because that's why we invited them. But that night, many of the usual leaders were not attending. Jeff and Susan were still on holiday. Sharon and her family chose to go to JB that weekend. GP, had in-laws over for dinner, and various people couldn't turn up. Now, the theme was martial march. Okay, martial march, but the theme was actually a recurring test of community, okay, especially when it's not convenient and when I have other considerations that actually weaken my commitment. So I'm putting it pretty bluntly, why is it some people can miss a leaders gathering 3 months in a row despite saying yes, whereas there are those who have not missed a single one in 20 years, every month, 12 times a year, even when some of the parents are very sick, haven't missed a single one in 20 years. I think it must be the value that is placed on community. Not the New Skin community, okay, but community as a life value. Okay. So now of the Hokkaido trippers, I'll just share my screen again, okay. So of the Hokkaido trippers, Huisuan, okay. See, so who are the Hokkaido trippers who showed up despite feeling exhausted? Huisuan turned up, okay. In fact, she had to take over Susan as the MC, coordinating a whole lot of stuff. I turned up, okay, it was my home, I had to turn up, okay. Chong, okay, I don't have a good photo of him in his military gear, but this is Chong, cool as anything. You can imagine how cool he was in his military gear. And Hock Seng turned up, and I show this picture of Hock Seng because Hock Seng was actually sick, so he had an excuse not to turn up. But but he turned up for the leaders gathering. Okay. The show basically went on. Okay. Now, for Chong, I just want, no, sorry, let's go back here. I just want to say something about Chong. For Chong, it was another function, the leaders gathering, after 8 days in Taiwan and 6 days in Japan, back to back. He actually didn't need more community. Okay. But he knows the value of community, he knows the value of commitment. Okay. So Hock Seng, as I mentioned before, he was unwell. Even his children, his children, young age, they didn't have the stamina to come, but Hock Seng showed up. Okay? And let me share with you some thoughts why the leaders gathering is important to us to fulfill our mission to empower people to improve lives with an enriching, uplifting culture. We say that mission statement so much, but it's true. We say it and it means a lot to us because we want to empower people to improve lives with an enriching, uplifting culture. And I want to share how the leaders gathering is important for that. First of all, it's a showcase of a positive environment. Okay? This is really vital for prospects who want to check us out in a non-business context. So the leaders gathering is not about business at all. It's just meeting together, family getting together, but it's a positive environment. Okay. Secondly, it's a community of people who have resilience. I just shared with you about the leaders who turned up after coming back from Hokkaido. And for those of us who are doing the business, they are all resilient. Okay? Meaning they've been through ups and downs in life. People who are what I call anti-fragile. Okay? And that's a very, very positive environment to be with, okay, in a world that's really, really tough around us. Okay? And thirdly, it's an environment to enroll people to live bigger and better lives. Okay, like last night, we talked about martial arts. Okay, so this is the positive environment. Okay, which Jefferson was the first time he meets people like this, and it's an environment for people to live different lives. Last night we had someone talk about martial arts. Okay, Jeraine talked about martial arts for fitness, martial arts for friendship, and martial arts, of course, for fighting creepy people. We talked about preparing our babies, to serve the nation in national service. So here's Daniel talking about how he's preparing Isaac. Okay, it's an environment to raise our children, consistently. Okay, at least because it's at least once a month the leaders gathering, consistently exposing them to all of the above things: a positive environment, leading balanced life. Okay, here we have Ku Sui Jiao's son, okay, Sheng Fen. This was in 2015, 8 years ago. He must have been about, 12 years old, 13 years old in Sec 1. He's given an opportunity to share. Okay, here he's being helped by the MC Amos. Here we have Max and Lucius, who are now so big, so tall. But when they were children, they grew up in this environment. Okay, adults who have fun, learn how to have fun. And of course now, the latest one is Isaac, who's less than 1 year. If he keeps mixing with positive people like this, especially Hui Xuan, how can he not be impacted? Okay. So, leaders gatherings can do all of that because of commitment and a consistency. Because a leaders gathering is always there, and it will always be a positive environment. But there needs to be a critical mass of people, isn't it? Of people, but not just people there, but people who live all the 6 leadership distinctions. Okay, so I encourage you to go back and and review the distinctions. But what's this critical mass of people? I believe the critical mass is just one, okay? Which is why I would do a leaders gathering, even if I'm the only one. Even if my wife decides that they, to cook, it doesn't matter. Okay, we can buy food, we can ask other people to do that. Okay. Now, those of you familiar with the leadership distinctions from Asia Works, just run through the 6 distinctions. Okay, later, if you want, you can ask me and I'll give you the 6 distinctions for those who are not familiar. Okay, and then just go through them and see how each of them was responsible for you turning up at last Saturday's leaders gathering, or responsible for you turning up at every leaders gathering, for those of you who have turned up. Okay. So earlier I shared on the why, the importance. I want to just share with you 3 values of the leaders gathering as a how. Okay. So we talked about why, the importance. Now I will talk about how they are important. Okay. So I've got 3 R's. The first R is it's a reunion. Okay, it's a reunion of your new skin family. Unlike Chinese New Year reunion, you are meeting 12 times a year. Okay, and your family, the blood is got the blue blood of new skin. Okay, and when you meet together with your family, it always promotes gratefulness, gratitude, isn't it? Second value is actually repayment for past support. Okay, for example, my children grew up in this environment. Sharon and Amos raised their 2 sons here, more than 10 years. So did Hock Seng. Okay. And repayment is an action of appreciation. So you talk about intention plus action plus grace. Okay, repayment is an action of appreciation that will then continue to attract grace in our families. Our children are not going to be children anymore. They're going to be adults facing real challenges where you really need a community. Okay? And you want grace to come in, because we are no longer so much in control of them. So it's that coming to the leaders gathering is a repayment for the past support, which guarantees future support. Okay, and third reason is it's a renewing of our minds. What I call retire. Okay, where I retire is the tire is spelled not retire, R-E-T-I-R-E, is R-E with a T-Y-R-E. Okay, like I retread an old tire so that it can go faster and it can go further. And what happens in a leaders gathering with different people, different themes? I refresh my mind with new input. I develop creativity by the stretch of simply having to dress up differently for each theme. Okay? And that's staying alive, by staying refreshed and responsive to change. Healthy bodies need a matching healthy mind. So building community is a skill. Okay? And the leaders gathering is a practice ground, and there are other areas where you want to be practicing. Let me share with you 2 examples. Okay. So the first is National Day Parade, NDP. Okay. So 3 parties get involved in NDP: the planners, the participants, those who come and practice for months before, and then the public who attend the actual event, or they watch the event. And the value of the NDP is it brings the nation together, isn't it? It brings the whole nation together. And when you're there, when you see the showcase of what's happening, people realize what's working for them in their country, what's working, and invokes gratitude. And when you're grateful, it kills all the complaints. Okay. And the 4th thing is it builds fortitude to protect what we have and gives us the strength to work another year until the next NDP. Okay. So that's a value NDP. The other example I want to give you is the Hokkaido Success Summit. And here, when I was on the Success Summit, I saw through my eyes very, very clearly. Okay, Glenda and Oliver's leadership. Glenda and Oliver have practiced community over the years, through MAID. And this was clearly experienced through the trip. Okay. Here we have a whole bunch of us leaving at Changi Airport. Here it's at the snow games. This is at 6:30 p.m. In the freezing cold. Just an example. And then here's a picture of just Oliver's mate group on airport return. Okay, so this is a community built under the leadership of Oliver and Glenda, and everyone had great fun. You just have to go and look at the Facebook posts. You see what a fantastic time they had, and everyone included the ages from 26, Alphonsus, Ningna's son, all the way to 79, Helen. Okay, and of course the bulk of us, we were in the 50s to 60s, but that's a huge range of people experiences in the community, and everyone was looking out for each other, with some people making special effort and doing extra work, to recommend decisions for the whole team and all that, so that everyone could benefit. And the group was almost always on time. I say almost, but it's like 98%. They were either on time or early, and that's quite remarkable, because there were also a few family members. When you got family members, they don't have the same sort of standards of practice as us. So it was a remarkable event. And the Success Summit, I would say, was of course a test of the success mantra. Okay? The success mantra is intention plus action plus grace. And based on this success mantra, for the biggest experience, grace is the multiplier. Okay? So there's intention, there's action of Glenda, Oliver, and all the leaders and everyone in the team. But let me share with you grace. Grace came in the form of two unexpected blessings. First, we were all in the same wave with Audit and Ben as our leaders. Okay, so I've been on multiple success trips with New Skin, and this is the first time I've been on a wave with just one bus in one wave, and all filled with our team. Okay, which included all the mate qualifiers. It was as if this was a pure holiday just for our team. We didn't have to wait for other buses. We had complete flexibility. We could make our own decisions on timing, where we go, and all that. I mean, this is just incredible. When you talk about, a gift of a holiday, this was grace that this could happen. The second thing was, I think we also had the best tour guide of the entire trip of the 1,200 Southeast Asia winners. Okay. We had this guy called Jimmy Ng from Penang, who lives in Japan and has been living in Japan for 20 over years. So, I mean, this was grace having him, which enhanced our experience absolutely. So Hokkaido is a reminder of what a community of leaders looks like. Okay. So, for those who went on the trip, taking the New Skin business seriously enough to qualify for the trip, only 110 accounts from Singapore qualified. Taking the business seriously enough has developed you personally. This is who you need to be. What is the result that you have? First of all, you can see you had confidence to travel in a new country, a cold country, speaking of foreign, absolute confidence. You went there eagerly, no fear. You had fun in the unknown. Okay, and you are now more prepared to empower more people to join you in the Amsterdam Success Summit in 2025. I mean, what fantastic outcomes. Okay, and what Glenda and Oliver do with Mate, in their community that they build there, is creating all of that. Leaders gatherings are just another mechanism of how to achieve that. Okay. So going to Amsterdam will require you to be part of a committed community. Practice by simply turning up for every leaders gathering, turn up for the New Skin meetings, an opportunity to be together in a community. Simple, but not easy. You can do it. Okay, let's do it together. So Tuesday tips tomorrow will be by Hui Xuan. We look forward to hearing from her. Okay, thank you, everyone. Bye.